Hi, my name is Kelly and welcome to my channel. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about the books that I read throughout the month of September. Now, the first book that I read, and when I did a video right after talking about it, I forgot to film an introduction. So you're seeing me now filming the introduction. Hello, welcome. And then after this, you guys will get to see the videos of me talking about the books right after, or after-ish, I read them. All right, I'll see you at the end. All right, so it has been about a week and a half since I finished this book, and I haven't talked about it yet because I haven't made a video talking about it, I should say, because I still don't really know how I feel. So as I mentioned, I was going to try reading Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I've never read the books before. I saw the movies once years ago. So I said I wanted to read it because, you know, they're the people that say absolutely not, like you shouldn't read it because it, like, not only has witchcraft in it, but like, or wizardry, but it makes it like the good guys have it. And then there are people that are like, well, no, listen, it's an allegory, and you know, there's a lot of Christian elements to it. And so, my nose, sorry. So I decided I wanted to read it for myself to kind of see where I fall on it, on that spectrum, the pendulum. I don't know. Anyway, you guys, I have a migraine. I've been struggling with a migraine. This is like day 5, but I have to return this library book today. So I figured I should probably go ahead and talk about it finally. So the story itself, it was a good story. It kept me interested. I finished it within 2 days, like less than 24 hours. I finished this book. Very interesting read. And I felt like, you know, the elements of it, like the action was very good. The big reveal at the end, very good, very well done. And you know, there's some heartbreaking stuff in here. You know, there are characters that, man, you just really love to hate them, and then, you know, it's just a really great friendship. And I think that the book itself is very good. Like, I had a great time with it. The only thing is, you know, it does have witchcraft in it. Now, is it witchcraft like what we see in our world? No. So it's like the Hollywood version of witchcraft, essentially, or the fairy tale version of witchcraft. And it's not like straight up, like, it's considered wizardry, I think, by most people, but it is called witchcraft in here. It can be hard as a Christian because we are all going to have our own convictions about this. We like, it's going to be different for each person, and it's going to be different depending on, like, you know, what you've experienced in your past, or, you know, just what the Holy Spirit lays on your heart. I don't think that if you're reading this that your salvation is at risk. Like, this is a personal conviction kind of thing. For me, the whole witchcraft side of things, even though it looks different, it's still kind of encouraging it in a way, I guess, because it's the good guys that are learning these things, but it looks different. And so that's where I'm kind of like, I don't know where I really fall on this line. So that being said, I'm not necessarily recommending it because I don't know where my convictions lie, but I'm not recommending it because it was a good story. It was very well written and it had some amazing elements in it, and I can see some of the Christian elements that people have talked about. So anyway, I that all of that to say is, I don't I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know if I'm going to continue reading the story, and I'm sorry for my camera shaking so much. I'm literally just holding it up right now, and my arm is getting tired. But anyway, I don't know. Great story, but I don't know how I feel about it. But kind of funny thing is that when I started to read this, I grabbed a bookmark, just a random bookmark out of my thing. Started to try to see which one I wanted to use, but then I was like, oh, one of my magnetic owls, I'll just use that. You guys, I didn't realize it until the last chapter that I was on in this book. I didn't realize it, but the magnetic bookmark I grabbed, it's literally, it's trying to focus on my face and not this, but it's a Harry Potter bookmark, and I didn't know. I didn't realize it until the very end. And I was like, well, what are the chances of that? That's crazy. I didn't even know I had a Harry Potter owl. I just knew I had owls. I didn't know it was Harry Potter. Anyway, so yeah, I don't know how I feel about the book. Great story, well written, great plot. My only hang up is the witchcraft side of things, and I'm not sure how much of a hang up that is for me. I'm going to be completely honest, I'm praying about it. I'm praying because I don't know where I fall on this right now, and I don't want to step outside of Holy Spirit's guidance for me. So I'm being completely honest with you guys. I don't judge one way or another where people land on this. Like I said, it's a personal conviction thing as far as I'm concerned. So, um, I, I don't know where I land on it yet, but very well written story. Anyway, okay, I'll see you guys with the next book. Okay, so I'm back with a couple more books that I've read. Here's the thing. It is the 21st of September, and before today, had only read a total of 3 books this whole month so far. I just finished the 4th book, and that's because it's a book that I've been working on for a while with my kids. So me, myself, I'm not doing so hot with the reading this month. But here's the thing, in my defense, because evidently I feel like I need one, which honestly, 3 books in a month is not bad for most people. So, but anyway, I haven't been reading much for a couple of reasons. One, I have been very involved in ministry at my church and doing things there, and I've had to focus a lot of my time on that. Two, I've also, with the weather changes going on, it's been affecting the epilepsy. And so when it affects the epilepsy, sometimes it gives migraines. And like in the last video clip that you guys saw, I was still struggling with the migraine from that. So, um, I just haven't been getting much reading done. I've been getting a little bit here and there. But I do have 3 books that I want to talk about that I have finished recently. Well, this month. 2 of them were earlier this month, but I'm getting to them anyway. Okay, so I read Island of the Blue Dolphins by Scott Odell. My sister had told me about this book, and when I was talking about middle grade March, and she said that this was a book that she had always read, and I had never even heard of it, but she said that she loved it. She said that she read it all the time, like over and over and over again. So when I saw it at Goodwill recently, I was like, well, I should buy that and I should read it just because my sister loved it so much. So I did buy it, obviously. It's in my hands. And I did read it, which is why I'm talking about it right now. But it's such a good book. Okay, so I will say this. The first 2 chapters are very sad. Very sad. I went into this not expecting that. And I was surprised that my sister read it over and over again so many times because it was so sad. However, really good. she's essentially, so it's about, I just based on her name, Karana. We're gonna say Karana, that's how you pronounce it. So it's about Karana, and she is a girl that is essentially living the Robinson Crusoe life on this island. She, through a series of events, ends up there by herself. And it is heart-wrenching, some of the things that she experiences. It's interesting to read about how she approaches different situations and just how she learns to love this place that she is at, even though she's there alone. So anyhow, really good book. It wasn't until the end that I realized it was based on a true story, loosely based. So apparently there was a woman, she was called the Lone Woman of San Nicolas, and in 1800s something, yeah, 1800s, she was stranded on this island by herself from 1835 to 1853. Nearly 20 years she was there by herself. The real life woman. Not much is known about her. I'm not going to give too much away, but honestly, not much at all is known about her. However, Scott Odell decided to write a book about what her experience may have been while she was there, based off of the information that they do have. So very interesting. I was very surprised to find out that it was based on a true story once I got to the end and read the author's note. However, it was kind of fun Googling more information about it after. I kind of wish I hadn't, because then I was really sad. But the book is good. It's good. Like I said, really sad at the beginning, but a very interesting read, and I did enjoy it. The next book that I read was Singing Through Fire by Lara Silverman. So Lara has written a memoir about her illness and love and loss and struggles in faith and being so it says right here, finding surprising joy in life's darkest trials. That's the perfect summary of this book, because even though she goes through so many hard things and she's still struggling to this day with some of these things, she still finds joy. She is funny and she approaches things trying to find the humor. And even though this is a heart-wrenching book, I laughed so many times, and I absolutely adore her as a person now. I wish that I lived near her, because man, I would just want to give her a big ol' hug. She sent this to me asking me to read it, and I'm so glad that she did. And I've been in contact with her, just sending messages back and forth, and she is sweet, and I am so proud of her for taking her struggles and being honest about her questions and putting them in this book. And this is her testimony, you guys. This is her testimony about how she has still been able to see God and his goodness, and she's able to recognize his blessings that he has given her in these hard times. And such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful story. And I can't wait to see how God uses this as a way to minister to others who are also still, they experience these issues that aren't going away. Like me, I have epilepsy. That's not something of course I've prayed over it, but it's God has seen fit for me to keep that for some reason. And do you know what? That's fine. because I know that his reasoning is better than mine. And in the meantime, until he decides that this is something that he wants to heal me of, if he decides that this side of heaven, then I'm going to use this as a way to minister to others. I'm going to use this epilepsy as a way to try to point others to God. And that is essentially what she's doing with her disease. Now, disorder, disease, disorder, I'd say it's more of a disorder, but she is using her struggles that she is still in, and she is pointing others to God. It's beautiful. It is so beautiful. It looks like a chunker because it is, but it's such a quick read, and I absolutely loved it. If you have not read this yet and you like nonfiction, I would give it a try. Also, if you are somebody or know somebody that is struggling with a disease or a disorder and just feeling very discouraged, this could be a great read. And I would encourage you to give this a shot. It's absolutely beautiful. Laura, I love you, and thank you for sending this to me. Okay, and then the book that I finished tonight with my kids was The Blades of Actar Dare, Book 1 by Tricia Mingerink. My son actually read this last year for homeschooling, just as like a free read kind of book. And when he was choosing, because we take turns, the kids take turns choosing what book we'll read together as a family each night, like a chapter or two, whatever. And when he was getting ready to choose a book, he was like, I want to read this book. He wanted my daughter to experience it as well. And I love The Blades of Actar. Such a good series. And while we have been working on the Ilion Chronicles right now, my son wanted to take a break and try this, which I love the Ilion Chronicles, but I also love this, so I'm okay with it. But this is the story about a blade who essentially an assassin. His name is Leith, and he comes in contact with some Christians. And at this point in this world, Christianity is illegal. And so he comes in some contact with some Christians and starts discovering what they truly believe and sees hope and tries to figure out how he can have some of that hope. And he doesn't want to hurt these people because he's seen them be good people and they treated him with kindness when they didn't need to. And so I think that this is an amazing book that talks about forgiveness, and it has assassins. So it's, of course, a great book. Tricia Mingerink is a great, great storyteller. If you've not read this book, you should try it. Personally, in my opinion, I really, really like it. It's considered fantasy. However, I think that the only reason it's really considered fantasy is because it takes place in a world that is not our own. There's no magic. It's almost like an alternate universe or something, because it still has Christianity. It still has the Bible. It still talks about Jesus. So this is like really light on the fantasy side because of the fact that this is very much like our own world back in like kingdom times. Like, it's just a different land that we don't actually have. So I think that this could be a very easy introduction into a fantasy world if someone isn't so much into fantasy, with it having the Bible and Jesus. And really, like, this is, I wouldn't even go so far as to say it's an allegory, because it's just straight up in there, the information. Like, she was not holding back. It was, here it is. This is Christianity. Enjoy. So I wouldn't even say it's an allegory. It's just a kingdom kind of fantasy fiction book. I don't know how to describe it, honestly. My kids really enjoyed it. Obviously, my son enjoyed it since he went through reading it a second time just so that he can make sure that my daughter read the first book. So he really enjoyed it. My daughter, she really enjoyed it as well. She thought that it was a good book, and I think that she's torn a little bit because it's her turn next to choose a book, and I think that she's torn on whether to read the second book of this series or continue Ilion Chronicles, and we'll see what she chooses. But we all really enjoyed this. Great book, and this is like her hardcover that she came out with a couple years ago, and I really like it. She has a newer cover now that has like people on it, but I really like this because it just looks kind of old schoolish, and I like that. Anyhow, that's all I've read so far. I'm working on a couple of other books. Maybe I'll finish 2 more books before the end of this month. I don't know. I have like a week left. But honestly, I don't feel bad about it. And maybe a little part of me does. But I'm okay with having not read as many books so far this month because I really have had other things going on. And always, like, I love reading, but ministry, time with Jesus, time with my family, those are always going to come before reading. They're always going to come before, honestly, booktube. These things are more important to me, and that's where I have been this month so far, and why I haven't been spending much time reading. But we'll see how many more books I get finished this month, because things have slowed down a bit and now I can read a bit more, which will be nice. So we'll see. Hopefully I'll see you guys a bit more between now and the end of the month. Okay, so I have finished another book. It is the 26th of September, and I am just now finishing my 4th book, which is okay. Honestly, because like I said before, I've had a lot of stuff going on this month, and sometimes it's nice to just take your time reading a book or reading a couple books, just slowly going through them, and that is kind of what I've been doing. So I just finished The Dangers of a Shallow Faith by A.W. Tozer. This book was sent to me by Chrissy from Chrissy's Purple Library. I love her. If you don't know her already, definitely go check out her channel, subscribe, and she does sprints where it's more than just reading sprints. Like, it's a time of ministry, and I absolutely love it. Go check her out. But anyway, so she sent me this book, and I was really excited for it. This is a book I've been wanting to read. And my book club that I have on Fable, where we read nonfiction books, they all voted for this one this month, and I was very excited about it. So this is really, I mean, this is exactly what it says. Tozer is talking about the dangers of a shallow faith, and it says awakening from spiritual lethargy. And listen, my toes really hurt right now because boy does he step on them. And that's why I love Tozer, though, because he's not afraid to step on your toes. He's not afraid to push you past your boundaries of this like stagnancy that you've been in, or misconceptions of the faith. And or like earlier this year I read a book, Prayer, and pushing people like, what are you doing not actually praying? That's our main way to communicate with God, and he gives us that open way. Why are you not doing it? And anyway, so this was such a good book. It was compiled by James L. Snyder, so like he compiled it and edited it, but it's Tozer's work. So he has 3 sections that he kind of addresses, and he talks about the dangers that are facing the church, the challenges that are facing the church, and then the path to overcoming these challenges. You know, my faith has grown a lot in the past several years, and where I am now is far different from where I was in college or where I was in high school. And this book is still pushing me even further. And I love it for that, because I never want to be stagnant in my faith. I never want to be lethargic. We are called to grow in our relationship with Christ. We are called to sanctification. That word came out weird. We are called to sanctification, which, for those who don't know, salvation is the moment that we come to Christ and we are saved and we're going to heaven. Sanctification is the process throughout our Christian walk in which we draw closer to God and become more like Christ. So that's sanctification. And I never want to not be continually sanctifying myself more and more, becoming like Christ more and more. We are all human. All of us have our flaws. All of us have our areas where we fall short of the glory of God. And we as Christians should be continually trying to strive to be more like Christ. Now, of course, as far as that goes, it's a process. Nobody is going to become saved and immediately act like Jesus. Not a thing. So, I mean, it's impossible for someone who's even been saved for 20 years or 50 years. We can't act like Christ all the time because we are flawed. We are all human. We all have our flaws. If we were able to act exactly like Christ in every way, all of the time, in our thoughts and actions, then we wouldn't need a savior. Anyway, I am preaching right now. It has nothing to do with this book. I feel like I went off on a tangent. So let's reel it back in. The point is, I don't want to become lethargic. I don't want to become lazy in my faith. I don't want to become stagnant. And this book is great at talking about the dangers of being like that, talking about the dangers spiritually of not continually growing in our faith and continually growing to become more like Jesus. So I would definitely recommend this. I mean, this is third or fourth book by Tozer that I've read. And I can't decide. I can't rank them. They're all amazing. I was going to say that this one might be my favorite, but then I think about the other ones. I'm like, hold on, those were pretty amazing. But I definitely recommend reading this. It is a call to Christians to not be Christian by name, but Christian by action, by thought, by our relationship with God, not just by saying, whoop, I'm a Christian, and then living our lives like we did before we were saved. That's not what it means to become a Christian. When we become a Christian, we become a new man, a new person in Christ. And that is what this is about. Like, start living like you are that new person in Christ. Man, I started preaching again. Okay, listen. So, we're gonna move on. This is a great book. You should read it. And I think that I might be able to finish another book before the end of this month. Like I said, it's the 26th. So I think I might finish another book or two. I'm working on 2 books that I'm pretty sure I might be able to finish. So we'll see. But anyhow, check it out, guys. It's a really, really, really great book. I'm glad that we read it in my book club on Fable. By the way, I'll put the link down below just in case you guys want to join for the next book or something. All right, bye. All right, I'm back. Am I wearing the same sweater as I was earlier? Yes, I am. Did I finish one of the 2 books I told you that I was working on? No, I did not. In fact, I started and finished a whole different book. The Great Divorce by C.S. Lewis. I can tell you, I had no idea what this was about. It was not what I expected. Interesting, but the end I wasn't suspecting. And the end kind of wrapped it all up a bit, because I don't want to give it away, but the end wrapped it up and made it make a bit more sense as to why it was like it was. if that makes sense. It doesn't, probably, if you haven't read this, and it probably won't because I don't like giving away spoilers. But so this is essentially, there is a man that he gets on a bus and rides from hell to heaven. And while he is there, he hears certain conversations between people from hell that went to heaven with him on the bus and some of the people that were in heaven. So that was the part that was weird for me. I was like, is he trying to say that like you can go from hell to heaven after you die? That doesn't seem biblical. But I don't think that he was actually saying that. He gives some pretty good insight as to why some people may reject heaven. And it was a very interesting. Um, I don't really know what to say about this book. I mean, I read it all in one day, just a couple of hours. So if that tells you anything, it was interesting and it was insightful, very much so. But it was weird. It was strange. But I enjoyed it. I'm really glad I read it. It was good. And I think I feel like this is kind of on par with his space trilogy, which was also a little strange. But I did love that too. So I'm glad I read this. This was on my 50 by 50 list, and I'm so glad I read it. And it was such a short, easy read. So I'm glad about it. I actually read this now because I keep making it reflect. Okay. A squirrel. Okay, so I mentioned in my September TBR video, really it was just a pile of possibilities, that one of the book clubs that I have joined, not the one I run, but one of the book clubs I've joined on Fable, was doing this book, and I was really excited about it, and I wanted to get it read. And I was sitting here and it was the 26th, and I was like, I'm not sure I'm going to get it read because it's already so late in the month. But then I was like, it's really a tiny book, I bet I could do it, and I did. So I don't know what else to say about this book. It was interesting. Anyhow, well, I have videos to work on and things to try to keep me awake until 2 o'clock in the morning to go pick up my daughter from the high school. So I'm gonna go. I'll see you with the next book that I read, hopefully before the end of the month. Bye. All right, it is Monday the 29th, and I have finished another book. It is my first Jaime Jo Wright book ever, and it was The Vanishing at Castle Moreau. So just for the record, I know that this is not the book that I said I might read in my September Pile of Possibilities video, but by the time I was ready to read that book, it had to be returned to the library. So I grabbed this one instead, which was one that I said I might read a few months ago and never did. So I decided to go ahead and read it. And I have to say, like, I'm really glad I did, because I was a little nervous to start reading this book because of the fact that it had some spooky, kind of scary qualities to it. And people kept telling me to just go ahead and give it a try, just because of the fact that it seems very spooky and eerie, but it's always explained in the end, and kind of like a Scooby-Doo episode. So I decided to go ahead and give it a try. Finally got to it. And I'm very glad that I did. I'm glad that people said, at least just give it a shot, because this was a very good book. So this is all about Castle Moreau and how there are stories of women disappearing around Castle Moreau all the time over the decades. And so there's technically 3 timelines, but there's really just 2 that are your primary timelines. The 2 that are your primary timelines are set in 1870 with Daisy, who has been hired to work at Castle Moreau, and then in current day with Cleo, who has also been hired to work at Castle Moreau. And they are both experiencing some kind of spooky things happening, things that make them feel uncomfortable or scared or worried. And then they're hearing stories about women disappearing on top of it, and it's just very like kind of creepy. Definitely has like a gothic literature vibe to it, which is kind of cool. And so that's what they are going through. And then the third timeline is one that is just a couple of pages for each chapter, and it's only here and there throughout the book, with several other chapters in between. And that is set in 1801, and it follows the point of the view of this young girl who is kind of experiencing the first of the creepy stuff happening, and she's giving the point of view of where this all kind of began. And I have to say, so about halfway through the book, I had a theory that of what I felt the conclusion or the reveal should be, what I thought it could be, and also what I felt it should be. And I'm so glad, because that's what it was. I was right about that theory. I didn't know like entirely how it was all going to wrap up, but my theory was right. And I'm so glad that that is what the reveal was. I thought that it was a very beautiful thing, and I thought that it was a wonderful way to shift the story and to end it. Now, I will say that there are some hard moments where it's not very descriptive about things, but it does allude to abuse. And so that is something to maybe keep in mind if you're extra sensitive to those kinds of things. But it was a good book, guys. I'm really glad. I'm glad I read it. It was good. And I can't wait to read more from Jaime Jo Wright. Maybe I'll get a chance in October, because it'd kind of be the perfect time to read another book by her. But I do have some other books I want to read. And I will say that this book was the perfect segue into the books that I plan to read in October. Like I said, I'm not super big on like the super creepy or spooky, but I like a little bit of suspense, and I like some of the lighter weight gothic novels. So, and I'm going to be reading a few books for Victober in October, and this was also kind of a nice way to segue into that. And I might read a couple of gothics maybe. So just like some of that lighter weight stuff, and this I felt like was the perfect segue into October, since we are so close to the end of the month. But I'm still hoping that I'll be able to fit in another Jaime Jo Wright, because this was really good, and I'm glad that I read it. I don't know that I will get a chance to read any more books by the end of tomorrow. We'll see. There is one book that is rather short that I might go ahead and start today and see if I can finish it by tomorrow, just for the heck of it. But I don't know, if maybe you'll see me for another book in this video, or maybe you'll just see me wrapping things up. Either way, I'll see you guys around. Bye. Okay, so I'm back. The last book that I read for the month of September was actually The Legend of Sleepy Hollow by Washington Irving. Now, I was planning to save this for October, but I had a couple of days, and I figured why not read one of the shorter books that was on my list for next month, and we'll just kind of go from there. So I ended up finishing this today, and I enjoyed it-ish. I'm not gonna lie, like, I never read the book before, and I kind of went into it expecting it to be more like, don't laugh at me, but more like the Disney version cartoon of Sleepy Hollow. More storytelling to it, and this did have storytelling to it, but I don't know, it didn't feel as engaging. It didn't feel as, I don't really know how to say what I'm trying to say. So just, it felt like it was lacking the storytelling element. That's what I'm trying to say. So, does that mean I didn't like it? No. But honestly, if I had read the book first, I probably wouldn't have been very interested in watching any of the movies or the cartoon or anything. But it was the cartoons and the movies that are kind of around Sleepy Hollow and Ichabod Crane that made me want to read the book. It's very short, so I guess that's probably why it's lacking a little bit in the storytelling aspect ish. I don't know. It felt like the story itself was kind of dry. Either way, I'm still glad I read it. I thought it was decent. And it was fun to see where all of the movies and the shows came from. And I don't know, now I kind of want to go back and watch the like Disney cartoon of it and see in what ways it was similar, in what ways it's different. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, that's it for the month. Those are the books I read, and I'd love to hear what you guys read, or maybe if you read one of the books that I did, I'd love to hear your comments on it. So yeah, that's it. I hope that you guys have an amazing October ahead of you. I hope you had a great reading month in September, and I pray that God blesses you guys and just gives you an amazing month full of love and feeling His presence around you. All right, bye guys.